Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Grizzly Bear Sims YouTube channel, and welcome back to Pine Cove Farm. This is episode number 15, and as you can tell, we are in a brand new game day. We are in a brand new season, and look at the beautiful fall colors here in Colorado and Pine Cove Farm. This is just amazing. The beauty that the Seasons mod brings to a map that is already a work of art made by the wonderful and talented Stevie. So I wanted to show you where the eggs are here on this map. They're here by this little gypsy wagon where you can sell some straw and hay and stuff here. So this is where you'll find your eggs, and we've got a whole bunch of eggs in our little basket, and we're going to go and sell those. We have found a buyer that is interested in buying our egg supply, and so we're going to deliver them to them today. Now, unfortunately, and just disregard the lag, please. It's a little laggy around the main farm just because of all the equipment that we have here. Today's going to kind of be a little bit of a hodgepodge of tasks that we're going to accomplish this morning. Well, I say this morning because it's my morning. It's my Saturday morning, a little after 8 o'clock here in Colorado where I live in real life. And so it's going to be a hodgepodge of things because even though we are in the first game day of fall, we don't have anything available for harvest just yet. So everything is still growing. We've got a lot of stuff that's in its final stages of growth, which is obviously good. Well, kind of good and kind of bad, because I had hoped that we would at least be able to harvest something on this game day of fall so that we wouldn't have so much to have to do in the remaining 2 days of fall. But it looks like our work is going to obviously be cut out for us, and we will just get out here and go and sell our eggs here. It looks like they're awake, so we'll just drop them here on the front porch, and they'll pay us and $1,292 worth of eggs. So needless to say, I had a lot of eggs in the egg basket there because we had actually never collected eggs on this map or done anything with them. And as I say that, I think also the only thing I've ever done on Lawfuls with regards to eggs is I think I ran around the yard there and collected them one time, and but I don't think I've ever sold any eggs, so that'll give us something to do on that map. But yeah, it looks like based on our growth and everything, it looks like we're going to be quite busy the last two game days of fall to get all of these fields harvested. And well, it's just the tasks that we've got to that we face, and obviously we've got to get it done. So busy we will be. So Billy Bob, Jim Bob, and Stan will need to be on their basically their best work ethic. And Billy Bob kind of moonlights over for Doughboy 2913 on his farm, and I'm going to have to probably say that Billy Bob needs to remember which side his bread is buttered on and where Billy Bob got his start. Obviously, Billy Bob has been a farm hand of mine for quite some time. He started with me on Paradise Hills and Farm Sim 15. So Billy Bob, I know you're listening. Just make sure that you are here and you're ready to go every day. And once we get our chores done here, then you can go and certainly moonlight all you want to. So what am I doing? Because I'm walking away from the tractor that I wanted to that I basically wanted to use. I got this thing all washed up, and let's just check and see if maintenance is required, and it is. We're probably going to find that a lot of our equipment that we're going to be using in the next few episodes will all kind of need maintenance done at some particular point in time before we really get to using them, because they're all sort of in that range of needing maintenance. And so this is not any exception to that. So left Alt R, we'll do maintenance for $355 on our beautiful Challenger there. So again, I'm really bad with names. Somebody had asked a question about maybe why it costs so much to do maintenance on the little Sammy on Lawfolds, because if you remember, once we finally did maintenance on that little tractor, it was a couple of $1,000s. I don't remember what the full price tag was initially, but it was up there in the thousands of dollars. And the more or less the question was, well, why was that so expensive? And I think my best guess is that we waited until sort of, beyond the last minute, beyond the last opportunities to do maintenance on that particular piece of equipment, and so therefore we had to pay some additional penalties as a result of that. So I guess that just kind of goes to prove that you are always going to be better off by doing maintenance, maybe a little bit ahead of schedule or within the window where it tells you to. And obviously we're in that game day window right now where much of our equipment will need serviced, and we'll make sure that we do that. So one thing, I tell you what we need to do, let's see, what do we need to do? I don't think that we have a whole lot of straw. Again, I was kind of hoping that we would be harvesting today, because that would certainly help us out with our tasks and everything that need to be done. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to load up a bit of hay, and we're going to carry some hay down to the compost facility, sacrificing some hay. It's kind of a precious commodity, but we've got a lot of grass, and we've also got a lot of silage. If I kind of look here at our inventory, we got 671,000 liters of silage. We've got still 482,000 liters of grass. The hay is coming down. I do plan to do another mowing, probably. That may be something that we can do this game day, not this episode most likely, but we'll maybe do that this game day and cut that big field one more time and do that all probably in hay, or do much of it in hay, and we can sort of sacrifice hay to keep the compost plant running. I believe it will take hay. I hope it will take hay. I think it takes basically anything. So obviously, some things are, straw is probably your best material to put into the compost plant, because not a lot of it is required on your farm other than total mixed rations and bedding and such as that, but also you have an abundance of it, and it's the byproduct of harvesting your wheat and your barley. So it's sort of there, and so it's only labor intensive as far as picking it up and storing it or transporting it down here or baling it if that's what you're doing. So just sort of maybe keep that in mind, but I want to keep this plant going as best as we can, and I see that we need to move some compost over to our little compost bagging operation as well, again with the whole intention that we keep people busy. And I just noticed something a bit odd that I had not noticed before, and unless I'm going crazy, I believe there were some AI cars parked right over there at one time, and they're not there anymore. And I'm not taking a map update or anything. This is still the final version before the final version. So Stevie released this map, and it was the final version that he was going to release. And then he started playing the map. It's kind of a funny story, because he started playing the map, and he sort of realized that he wanted to make some changes to Pine Cove Farm. And again, this is kind of for his own use. And by the way, that's what Stevie does. Is Stevie looks like we've put everything in here that we can put in here, unfortunately, because we've got to run this all the way down and bring it back before we can grab compost. But yeah, I mean, Stevie basically mods for his own use. And let's see, can we put this in the BGA? Let's just try. I don't know if it'll accept it or not. but if it will, it'll save us a little bit of time. If it won't, then obviously we will learn a lesson. No, hay is not accepted here. Okay, but hey, speaking of hay, while we are here, let's just check on our fermentation process and see how that's going. And we are at 77%, so that is wonderful. I was a little nervous about our silage fermentation process, only because I believe it was Simulate posted on the Slack chat that we have access to, where we discuss issues and opportunities and such with the mod developers behind Seasons, and he had mentioned that he had a bunker of chaff fermenting, and it had been stuck at like a certain percentage for multiple game days, maybe even more than one season. And so I was a little worried that all that hard work that we put into basically put into the into cutting the corn and everything would basically, you know, end up getting stuck in the fermentation process. But we're good there. The last time I checked that, we were like at 2 game days or something. So I think we're okay. All right, so let's basically go in and let's grab, again, this is kind of a hodgepodge of things that we're doing, and my apologies for that, but you know, it's all stuff that's got to be done here on the farm. And trying to figure out why my door was open, so that will fix that. And so, but speaking of Stevie, unfortunately, not everything that I have to say about Stevie in this episode is positive, and it's nothing that don't worry, I'm not going to criticize him, because I love the work that he does. I have intentionally played every map, and you guys know several, well, probably a month or more ago, before we started playing Pine Cove Farm, I had said, and it's a rough quote, but I had said something to the extent that I wasn't really interested in playing any more of these Goldcrest Valley type maps, where folks have taken more or less the base map of Goldcrest Valley and have sort of changed things around and created a sort of a new map out of that. I made, seriously ate my words and changed my mind with regards to Pine Cove Farm, because Stevie created this map, and I saw it, I looked at it, I realized that this thing was going to be simply beautiful. And once I started sort of playing it in test, and especially we put this on the Dude Ranch, which is the official multiplayer server for the Three Dudes Gaming Network. When I put that on there, I realized I want to play this map because I want to play with really large equipment and such. And so that's what we've done. But I've got some really bad news, and the fact of the matter is that in recent days, and I think this came out on maybe Thursday, Wednesday or Thursday of this previous week, towards the very end of March, Stevie announced that he was officially retiring from modding. And it's multiple reasons. So initially, I sort of got defensive on his behalf, because the situation that I think that really sort of launched his decision to retire out of modding was the fact that somebody had more or less stolen some of his work. It wasn't a map, which I think I initially thought it was, but it wasn't. But I believe it was some other stuff that he had created, and had more or less stolen that and claimed it as their own, and had posted it on one of the mod sites, and all kind of the things that these people do, and just more or less led him to the understanding that it was time for him to stop modding. All right. So the problem is this tipper. This tipper will not accept, for whatever reason, this tipper does not accept compost. So we'll run this tipper back to the main yard and get something that will. So anyway, that was sort of the ignition, I suppose, that made him decide that he should just retire and get out of this, because this has been something that he has battled and he has fought for, I'm supposing, probably from the beginning of his modding career, because he started modding and he's a very smart and talented guy, and I think it came natural to him, as it does some people. Some people just, their level of creativity and everything is just such that these things just come natural to them. And I think that for Stevie, I think he's just one of those guys, and he hasn't been modding very long at all, but in the amount of time that he has been modding, boy, has he produced a lot of wonderful works of art. And that's really what they are, folks. I mean, I can't say. We'll move the John Deere out of the way. This thing's going to need to be fueled and serviced anyway, so we'll just park it here on our fuel pad, and we'll start fueling it up, and it'll just fuel, and maybe Stan will come over and cut the pump off before it spills gas or diesel everywhere. Anyway, so very talented guy. I can't say enough for him. But so this was kind of this was the catalyst. This was the ignition to sort of convince him that this is what he needed to do, because he was just tired of fighting and putting up with the stuff that was going on. And several months ago, Stevie had basically come out and said, folks, I hate to do this, but I don't give permission to anyone to make changes to his maps without his permission. And of course, if you would talk to him about it, and if you would say, look, I want to do this for my personal use and everything, he always would give permission and everything. He's just a super nice guy. But in any event, he's chosen to do that. And now it's been about 3 days or so since he announced this, and I believe this is still the case. He's not changed his mind. I don't think that he will. At this point, I'm sure that Stevie will continue to do modding for his own personal use. I think that he and his family enjoy Farm Sim immensely. But we have lost a very talented modder for, at least for the reasons of the mod theft and stuff like that does happen. And of course, there was a secondary reason why Stevie did go ahead and decide to sort of retire from modding, and that was he needs to focus on his health, and he wants to focus on his family and that sort of stuff. And so I can take my hat off to him for that decision, because I have said before that, other things must always come first before our hobbies. Our hobbies are simply just that. They're hobbies. They're things that we do to enjoy life, to maybe strip away some of the stresses and some of the other things that we often encounter in our life. But they're not. They should never become a priority over the real things in life that matter. So in other words, your family, your job, your schooling, your faith, things like that. And of course, one hobby should not become so dominating and so overbearing that it takes away from the time that you can spend with other types of hobbies and such. I mean, I've got multiple hobbies. I'm afraid that my wife is always sort of thinking that I'm going to come home with a brand new hobby, and I've kind of rekindled an old hobby of mine that has been with me since I was probably about 7 or 8 years old. I got my first camera when I was about 7 or 8 years old, and I've been taking photographs and such ever since. I've actually launched 2 photography businesses, one back in the very early 90s, back before the age of digital, and then again in around 2003 or so, during the age of digital. And it was pretty much the age of digital which caused me to sort of retire from professional photography anyways, earning any sort of money from photography, because nowadays everyone has a camera, and it's even become worse. My photography business was like back around 2003 through about 2006. I did weddings, I did portraits, I did all sorts of stuff. But of course, even back then, cameras were everywhere. But nowadays, now that the smartphone revolution has taken its hold in the community and everything the way it has done, I'm just going to grab a little snapshot here to show what we're doing. And I and F12. And so I did decide in 2006 to retire from professional photography. But unfortunately, a lot of the problems and a lot of the stresses that I faced in trying to run a part-time photography business, as well as a full-time career in the IT world, took its toll, and I kind of fell out with photography for sort of lack of a better description. And maybe it's happened to you as well, where you focus so much attention on something and you have such a strong passion for it, but something happens, something sort of happens from a negative perspective, and as a result, it's maybe turned you a little bit bitter on it or whatever. And that happened to me with photography. So, a very long story short, my wife for Christmas, and maybe it was partly it was maybe a joke, but not really. I mean, I've always I've always been interested in aviation. I've always been interested in flying. Not obviously, I don't want to become a pilot or anything like that, but I've always been sort of interested with aviation and such. And so, what am I saying here? And so for Christmas, this last year, she bought me a little small drone. And when I say small, it was just one of these that was in the, I don't know, $50 to $60, $70 range from Amazon. You use a smartphone app to control it, and it's designed, it can be flown outside, but because the winter was what it was this last year, it was very cold, snowy, and I really didn't want to wreck the thing. I flew it indoors quite a bit, and it's perfect to fly indoors because it's small enough, and it doesn't, if I bang it into the wall or whatever, it's not gonna destroy anything. And so she sort of told me, she says, look, you're always sort of talking about the technology. I'm very fascinated with Amazon's plan to use drones to deliver packages. That is something that I'm very fascinated about. I'm sort of interested in how they're going to pull it off and the security and everything behind it, but it is something that fascinates me. And guys and gals, remember, I'm sort of a techie, this is what I do. It's how I earn my living. And even though the job that I do has nothing to do with drones, it is just something that I'm interested in. So anyway, she knew this. And because I come home and I talk about it a lot, and I think that unmanned aerial vehicles are our future, and I think that there could be things that we could see in a dozen or more years that we might think that just was not possible before. That's just how things work, right? So anyway, she gave me this small drone, and she says, if you break it, don't worry. She says, and if you want to upgrade to a bigger and better drone, something that has more capabilities and everything, you know, you can do it, but this is sort of a starter drone, so enjoy it and you know, have some fun with it and everything. And so again, it was sort of, I spent most of the time flying it around the house, and it has a camera on it, and it will do still photographs, and it will also do short video segments. But you know, again, it's not very good. The camera on the bottom of the unit is actually fixed, and its position is straight down, so you're basically only can get aerial type photographs straight down. There's really no focusing, there's no settings. You can't adjust the aperture, you can't adjust the shutter speed, you can't adjust ISO, you can't adjust any of that kind of stuff. And so let's see, what do we want to do? We will probably well, let's go back and grab some more compost. So anyway, she told me, she says, anytime you want to upgrade the drone, she says you can. You know, and so I had been enjoying flying the little drone around the house. And so one day she says, well, she says, why don't we plan, when the weather gets better, why don't we plan a picnic or something, and you can go out and we can fly your drone outside, and you can take some, you know, see if you can take some photos, video, and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, you know, here's sort of the deal, is this drone is not really robust enough to really be flown outside. If the wind's blowing at all, and I mean just a small little breeze, it has an issue. And it also doesn't have some of the safety features, like, you know, return to home and all the, and obstacle avoidance and that kind of stuff. So anyway, she said, well, it sounds to me like you are interested enough in flying the drone as a hobby and everything, that she's like, why don't you look into upgrading and getting a bigger and bigger drone, something that has a little bit more capabilities and whatnot. So I began doing my research, and I have a friend of mine who basically purchased a drone for his photography business, and he purchased the Mavic Pro 4, I think it's one of the white ones. It's got the camera that mounts underneath, and it's got like a stand kind of thing. And so he did some live Facebook feed video and stuff from his home, and I had watched a couple of those. And so DJI, it's DJI is the company, not Mavic. DJI released a brand new drone last year, I believe it was, called the Mavic Pro, late last year for the holidays. And so it's very compact, and I mean it's well, I'll tell you, basically it's $1,000 drone, but it's very cool. It has all the safety features and everything that one needs for this kind of activity. And can I get the rest of this in here? I'm guessing not. Oh, I did. Okay, good. And so, sort of as a result of enjoying the drone, enjoying everything about it, it has sort of rekindled my interest in photography. But I'm gonna footnote this and say, let's see, what am I doing? I was going to grab, yeah, I can do that. I wasn't sure what that tipper trailer was over there with the fuel, if it was the kind that could be pulled behind a tractor if I needed the semi. So it is a tractor one. So anyway, it has really re-sparked an interest in photography for me. But again, the footnote is I'm never going professional again. I'm never ever going to go professional again. And actually, having said that, I can't go professional with my drone, or I can't do anything with my drone that is professional or that is revenue generating, because if you're going to basically earn money doing anything with your drone, and that could be as simple as showing a video on a YouTube channel where monetization is turned on, that you basically must get a FAA license specific to commercial use. And so basically I'm not going to do that, because I don't ever, the thing about it is photography has been something that I've been interested in from a very young age. And unfortunately, because 2 stints of running, I would say semi-professional or semi-successful businesses, I would say that even back before the digital age, when I launched a business back in the 90s, it was actually successful. It was small. It was just part-time because I still had another job that I did on the side, or I still had a full-time job. So this was a side business, a side extension of a hobby, or whatever you want to call it. And even when I relaunched it in 2003, it was still successful. I was doing weddings and I was doing portrait sessions, and I was basically doing enough work that kept me busy for the amount of time that I had available to it. But the competition, doing a wedding, and I'm just a nice guy. I'm just probably too nice sometimes, but like I would pose the bride and groom, or the bride or whatever, and I'm talking about like wedding photography here. And if family members wanted to take photographs after I did the posing, my rule was my photos come first, because obviously you're paying for me to do this, and so my photos come first. Once I take my photo and I'm happy with that, then before the pose change or whatever, then someone else can step up there and snap a photo with their little digital camera. I didn't have a problem with that. But what that ended up doing was that ended up cutting into my sales, obviously, and so the competition was just what it was. I ended up going to a model where it kind of worked for me, where I charged a flat fee for my services. So basically that was the fee that I charged for me to show up for the wedding, and that included all of the digital files. So I basically gave the bride or the groom or whoever was basically hiring me, I gave them all the digital files, the digital proofs, if you will, and they would do their own printing or whatever, take it someplace. If they wanted to do it on the cheap, they could take it to Costco or something like that. Or I had vendors that would take business from just regular people, and so I could offer that service. And that's what I was doing before I ended up shutting the business down. And really, I just shut the business down just because I had got a promotion at work, and if the photography business had ever essentially got to a point to where that it could essentially afford me to leave my full-time job, then that was going to be the plan. But if it couldn't do that, if it couldn't replace my income, then there was no way that I was gonna do that. So I ended up closing it down, and that's what I did. But anyway, the little drone, it's an expensive gadget. It's just an expensive camera and video camera, but it is fun to fly. And I've got a park that is nearby, and of course I've studied up on all the rules and regulations. I have to stay away, or 5 miles away from airports and such, or I can call and get permission, which I've done a couple of times, which is a very easy, simple thing to do. And I will one day share some video content that I make with you. Obviously it will not be on this channel. I have another YouTube channel that I don't have monetization set up on, so if I ever get to a point where I create some videos that I really like that I want to share with you all, I will put it on that other channel so that you guys can watch it, and it's not going to be monetized. we're not going to have to worry about violating any sort of laws and such. But it's fun as heck. It's very compact. It can throw in a small backpack, and I'm sort of thinking that my wife and I enjoy going up to the mountains, up to like the Breckenridge area and Vale and places like that, and getting off the beaten path. And there's a lot of places to go, and open space and everything. Fly it around and take some wonderful mountain scenery and whatnot. And so that is more or less what I wanted to tell you for this episode. And thank you for watching. I really do appreciate it. And we've gone over just a few minutes, but not too big of a deal. And again, this is just kind of a hodgepodge of things to do. We'll probably do some mowing and some hay. We'll probably do some tethering and stuff in the next episode. What I'll probably do is mow the field maybe, and then bring you all on for the tethering and the raking of the field, and we'll go from there. So thank you all so very much for watching. I do appreciate it, and we'll be back very, very soon. You'll get another episode of Loft Folds tomorrow, and I am traveling this week, so I leave out on Sunday, the 2nd of April again, and I'm gone for 5 days this next week. So I'm still on this schedule that I've been doing the last couple of weeks, and I appreciate you bearing with me and being understanding about that. So thank you all so much for watching. Come back again very soon. Don't you just love these fall colors? Beautiful. Actually, I think the fall colors are better on Pine Cove Farm than they were on Loft Folds, because this is pretty true to life. Even here in Colorado, where we've got a lot of evergreen trees, those things will stay green obviously year round, whereas our aspens and our cottonwood trees and other types of trees obviously will turn different colors. So just beautiful stuff, obviously enhanced by the Seasons mod, but obviously Stevie's wonderful work that he's put into this map is just simply beautiful. Thank you for watching. Take care. God bless. Bye-bye.